full of tears. This is the most emotional moment at Kai and Tan Songyun's wedding. K-drama Haven family. In the shimmering world of entertainment, we are used to seeing red carpets, flashing cameras, and carefully rehearsed smiles. But once in a generation, there comes a moment that pierces through all of that. A moment that strips away the glamour, the spotlight, and the spectacle, leaving only raw, undeniable emotion. And on that unforgettable day, Kai and Tan Songyun's wedding day, the world witnessed such a moment. A moment so powerful, so intimate, so full of love, that millions of fans across the globe found themselves crying as though they were right there in the room. This is the story of the most emotional moment at Kai and Tan Songyun's wedding. The wedding of the century. From the second the announcement dropped, the world knew this would not be an ordinary wedding. This was not just two stars getting married. This was the union of an empire. Luxury magazines called it the wedding of the century. Social media crashed under the weight of hashtags. Fans from Asia to Europe to America waited with bated breath for every glimpse, every detail, every photo. And when the day arrived, it felt like a scene lifted straight out of a drama. The venue was breathtaking. A garden transformed into a fairy tale, draped in white roses and golden lights. The air shimmered with anticipation. Celebrities, industry icons, friends, and family gathered, but everyone knew this was bigger than even the guest list. This was history unfolding. The procession. As the music began, Kai stood tall at the altar. For years, he had been the face of countless dramas, the hero in stories of romance. But in that moment he wasn't acting. He wasn't the character fans adored. He was simply a man, waiting for the love of his life. And then she appeared. Tan Songyun, radiant in her gown, glowing with a beauty that seemed almost unearthly. The crowd gasped. Some even wept. Every step she took down the aisle felt like the closing of one chapter, and the beginning of another. Kai's eyes never left her. His lips trembled. His hands tightened. And for perhaps the first time, the man who had always seemed unshakable looked undone by emotion. The vows. Then came the vows. Songyun went first. Her voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. She spoke not of fame, not of careers, not of the empire they had built, but of the small, ordinary moments, the late-night conversations, the laughter in between takes, the comfort of knowing she never had to face the world alone. And then it was Kai's turn. He opened his mouth to speak, but for a moment, no words came. His throat tightened. His eyes filled. And then in front of the world, Kai did what few expected. He broke down. Tears streamed down his face as he tried to speak. He spoke of the first day he met her, of the way she had changed his life, of the quiet strength she carried that became his anchor. His words shook, his voice cracked, but his heart poured out unfiltered, raw, real. And in that moment, the cameras didn't just capture a groom reciting vows. They captured a man laying bare his soul. The tears that united millions. As Kai struggled through his vows, the entire venue wept with him. Guests dabbed their eyes. Songyun, standing before him, could no longer hold back her own tears. She reached out, gently wiping his cheek, whispering words only he could hear. The audience online felt it too. Millions watching through live streams and clips cried alongside them. Fans wrote, "This is not a drama. This is real. I have never seen such pure love in my life. This moment will live forever." And when Kai finally uttered the words, "I will love you until my last breath," his voice breaking, the world knew this was more than a wedding. This was destiny sealed in tears. The kiss that closed the scene. The vows ended. The officiant's words echoed. And then came the kiss. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished for cameras. It was tender, shaking, full of relief, full of triumph, full of overwhelming love. The crowd erupted in applause, but Kai and Songyun didn't hear it. In that moment, there was no audience, no cameras, no fame. There was only them. The legacy of that moment. Years from now, fans may forget the exact flowers in the garden, the celebrities in the front row, the designer of the gown. But no one will ever forget that moment. The moment Kai's tears fell. The moment Tan Songyun reached for him. The moment two stars proved that behind all the lights, the fame, the fortune, they were simply two souls in love. And that K-drama Haven family, is why this wedding is not just remembered as an event, but as an emotion. The emotion of love, of vulnerability, of forever. The reception, a sea of emotion. As the final notes of the ceremony faded, the guests made their way to the grand reception hall. A masterpiece of gold and ivory drapery, with chandeliers shimmering like stars and thousands of white peonies lined along the tables. But the splendor wasn't what captured attention. It was Kai. Still red-eyed from the vows he didn't hide. He didn't compose himself for cameras. He remained vulnerable, his hand never leaving Songyun's. Every guest who approached them received a smile, but more than once his eyes filled again, and Songyun would brush his cheek gently, whispering something that made him laugh through the tears. At one point, a director leaned across the table and said, "Kai, you've played heroes on screen, but tonight, you showed us the truest one, yourself." The applause that followed wasn't just polite, it was thunderous. The first dance, a moment frozen in time. When the music began, a soft, timeless ballad, Kai and Songyun stepped onto the floor. The crowd fell silent. He placed his hand at her waist, she rested hers against his chest. And suddenly the world shrank to just the two of them. They swayed slowly, as if afraid to move too quickly and break the spell. Kai whispered something only she could hear, and she tilted her head back, laughing softly, her veil brushing against his shoulder. But midway through the song, Kai rested his forehead against hers and closed his eyes. Tears slipped again, and this time, Songyun cried with him. Not loud sobs, not dramatic wails, just quiet tears, two souls holding each other in silence, while the entire room wept with them. The cameras caught it. Fans replayed it millions of times. That image, two people dancing, crying and smiling through it all, became the photo of the decade. Guests speak out. Later that night, guests took to interviews and live streams. One actress admitted, "I've been to hundreds of weddings, but never have I seen love so raw, so unguarded." Kai and Songyun didn't just marry each other. They reminded us why we believe in love at all. A singer, known for being stoic, revealed that he had to step outside to catch his breath. When Kai broke down during the vows, I thought that was the peak. But when I saw him crying during the dance, with her crying too, it felt like we were intruding on something sacred, like we shouldn't even be allowed to see something that pure. The fans' world turns upside down. Outside, thousands of fans had gathered around massive screens broadcasting the event. When Kai cried during the dance, the crowd erupted into sobs. Entire fan zones turned into seas of tissues and comforting embraces. Online, hashtags spread like wildfire. Hashtag Kai tears. Hashtag Songyun forever. Hashtag love is real. But one in particular defined the night. Hashtag this is not a drama. Because fans understood. This wasn't acting. This wasn't scripted. This was life. Some even wrote that the wedding had healed them. One fan posted, "I had given up on love. Tonight Kai and Songyun reminded me that it exists." Another said, "They cried so we could believe again." The wedding wasn't just a private moment anymore. It had become a phenomenon. The honeymoon, hidden but not forgotten. Days later, Kai and Songyun disappeared quietly. No red carpets. No press. Just whispers of them flying to Europe, or maybe an island. But even without photos, stories trickled out. A hotel staff member anonymously shared. They held hands the entire time, even while waiting for their luggage. They looked at each other like the world didn't exist. Another traveler swore they saw them at a small cafe, laughing over a single dessert, Kai wiping cream from her lip. The honeymoon became mythical. Fans pieced together fragments, turning them into legends. Their first public appearance. Weeks later, when they finally appeared in public, hand in hand at a charity gala, the world held its breath. Kai, usually polished and charismatic, looked different. Softer. Radiant. Songyun glowed beside him. Her smile brighter than the cameras flashing around them. But the moment that broke the internet was small. As they walked up the steps, Kai leaned down, whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, covering her mouth. For the first time since the wedding, he didn't cry. He smiled. That smile, after so many tears, told fans everything. Love was no longer just emotional. It was joyful. A legacy of vulnerability. In the weeks that followed, magazines called Kai the man who made it okay to cry. Columnists praised Songyun for redefining grace. Together, they were no longer just actors, no longer just stars. They had become symbols. And their wedding, the vows, the dance, the tears, became the reference point for every discussion about love in the entertainment world. Couples began to quote them. Directors began to write roles inspired by them. And fans? Fans simply kept replaying the videos, whispering the same thing over and over. This is not a drama. This is real. The eternal memory. K-drama Haven family. Some weddings fade into memory. Some are remembered only by the photos tucked into albums. But Kai and Tan Songyun's wedding? It lives forever. Not just in the footage. Not just in the trending hashtags. But in the way it made people feel. Because in one night before millions of eyes, they gave us the rarest gift. They showed us that love is not perfect. Love is not polished. Love is not performance. Love is holding each other when the tears fall. Love is whispering words no one else will ever hear. Love is standing in front of the world, vulnerable, and being met with nothing but grace. And that K-drama Haven family is why their wedding will forever be remembered as the most emotional, the most breathtaking, the most unforgettable moment in modern celebrity history. Kai and Tan Songyun did not just marry each other. They married their story to our hearts. And that story will never end. K-drama Haven family. This is not just a wedding story. This is a legend. This is love. This is K-drama Haven.